Namaste. Welcome to this session. We're just a small group here, but nevertheless, we'll just go ahead with this session because we formed a small group where people are now working on, creating worksheets, creating lesson plans based on the Sadvidya curriculum. We all met last week, but then we also are planning to meet again next week as well. To take this forward. So we felt that before that, if a few more people, in case they want to join that group, this will be a useful session where they can have a walkthrough of the entire curriculum before they get into the lesson plan, so that that time can be, minimized. So that is why this session was organized. There were a good number of people who had filled the form, but maybe nevertheless, we'll pass on the recording to them. So in this session, of course, we've spent quite some time looking at the philosophy, larger philosophy of Indic education. Again, I will, go through some aspects of it. But this session will be basically covering the various aspects of the Sadvidya curriculum that we have developed at Anaadi Foundation. Many volunteers came together and developed this particular content. And the idea behind this is that, the most of the content that is introduced at the school level is highly colonized, in the sense that even the names, the fruits, the rhymes, everything is based on a certain Eurocentric context, and which is not relatable to most children in the entire country. And hence, this is a much more localized way of bringing together all this content for the benefit of young children, especially in the age group of 3 to 5. And we have taken the guidelines from NEP and the national, curricular, the foundational curriculum for the foundational stage, looked at the timetable and then seen how to include Indic concepts so that it's a decolonized preschool curriculum. So that will be the focus of this particular session, where we will be just walking through the entire document that we have prepared. It's a voluminous document. It's a 300-page document, but nevertheless, it gives you a clear roadmap as to what a teacher can teach about 200 days in age 3, age 4, and age 5. So what I'll do is I'll be sharing my screen and directly walking through the curriculum. And the curriculum as such, it is downloadable. I think you would have downloaded this, but nevertheless, you can download it for free at this particular link, anaadi.org/IKS books. So the manual is available. It will come to your email, or there in the box itself, you will get a download option. So you can download it and then you can take it forward. But we are also planning to have a subsequent meeting, most probably next week, which I will pass on a group link to you. And once you join, you will be able to sort of work with the group. This is the link to join the WhatsApp group. Maybe you're already part of the group, but nevertheless. So I'll just share my screen and we will have a walkthrough of the content. So the idea behind the Sadvidya curriculum, preschool curriculum, is that it draws insights, philosophical and pedagogical insights from the Indian knowledge systems. It is very well aligned with the National Education Policy 2020 and also the National Curricular Framework, especially for the foundational stage. So I will definitely recommend you to go through the NCF document, which gives very clear-cut guidelines on what can be taught at different stages. So that is a very important aspect to, homework to do, basically, when one is trying to teach the age group between 3 and 5. And the idea is also the Indian, the Indian ethos, if we look, their education was not very separate. So you won't find any book on education as such in the Shastras, because the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, the Vedantic texts, everything was to do with education. So it was lifelong education. At different points in time, you always had an acharya or a guru who would handhold you into these various processes and then, teach you different aspects of life relevant to that particular age. So it is a very, scientific process that way. So this preschool curriculum also brings in the rich heritage of India, the scientific heritage of India, not just from a historical perspective, but also from a scientific and content perspective. This brings out. And if you look at this, many of the children today are familiar with, Albert Einstein, Newton, but not all of them. Many of the children are not aware about, say, Bhaskaracharya or Aryabhatta or Charaka or Shushrita or Panini for that matter. They were all stalwarts when it comes to Indian sciences. And in fact, many of the Eurocentric models that we see today in mathematics, astronomy, or even health sciences for that matter, a large part of it was derived from the Indian sciences. It traveled from India to the Middle East and eventually to Europe. But somehow, due to a lot of confusions that happened in the European society, the sources of these went underground. So nobody maps it today as these sciences having come from India. Right. And you would see that many of the people where many traders set out route to find the pathway to India. We say Columbus discovered America, he was searching for India and all that. So unless and until India was a prosperous nation, nobody would look for a trade route to India, right? So at some point in time, if you look at in history, India was contributing to more than 30% of the world's GDP. So that way, that would not have been possible without a robust educational system, without a highly scientific process, and without a heterogeneous exploration of knowledge. This kind of an achievement wouldn't have been possible. And there are excellent things that are recorded in Professor Dharampal's book, The Beautiful Tree, where he has accessed the British records and mentioned that, the Bihar province alone had more than 1 lakh village schools. So you can imagine today we don't have that kind of enrollment in the schools. We are talking about, retaining the gross enrollment ratio, enhancing the participation of women, increasing the pass percentage. These have become our educational goals. But in those times, if we look at Professor Dharampal's book, many of these things were comfortably handled. Women were very much part of the educational process. All communities had access to education. All religions, in fact, had access to education. It was, but just that what we call as education was not just offered in a brick and mortar structure like today's schools, but it was offered in thinnais. It was offered in community halls. It was offered, at homes, in patashalas. So there were diverse kinds of learning environments that were available. But somehow, at some point in time, the Britishers said that only if you have this kind of an infrastructure, we will recognize this as a school. So after that, then it means that to up the infrastructure, people had to have money, and the money came from the students, and a lot of inequity in the availability of education started entering the system. So whoever had money had access to education. That became the scenario. Even now, that is what is that is what rules this particular the educational ecosystem. Now, if you see, in those days, education, food, and healthcare had to be offered free of cost. But today, these are the 3 most thriving businesses. Right? Education is a huge business now. It's a huge industry. Healthcare is a huge industry. And food is, of course, all of us know how such a big industry it is. And that is how the society is progressing today. So we'll have to operate somewhere in the middle. If we say it's going to be completely free of cost, it has a completely different consequence to it. It means that a lot of cooperation from the society will be needed in order to offer free education in today's times. But that is not impossible. There are so many institutions that are offering education completely free of cost. But that takes a lot of effort. That means that the education has to be kept in such a simple manner that it can be made available for free. At the same time, the Vidyarthis can have a good learning process. So when we say what is, and the NEP document itself talks about the koshas, the Panchakoshiya Vikas. It says that education should cater to all the koshas, Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Anandamaya Kosha. So when we say Annamaya Kosha, it is to do with the physical structure. In most of the educational process today, 90% of the day is spent in the classroom, and children come home and then spend time in the tuition centers. So there is hardly any focus on the development of the physical structure of the child. So many children grow up very unhealthy, unable to cope up with diversity of weather conditions or terrains or different kinds of comforts. So it means that the body has not gone through this exposure to diverse kinds of environments. So when we say, or even playing for that matter, exercises for that matter, yogic practices, very few children are introduced to all of these. So the Annamaya Kosha, it is important to focus on through the food and activity that the children go through. The Pranamaya Kosha is the energy component. It is the reason it drives basically the various organs of action. We speak, we walk, we hold things, we excrete, we reproduce. All this is governed by the Pranamaya Kosha. And it is important that the prana is enhanced, it is kept in a healthy manner so that throughout the day we are energetic. We also participate in life with full energy and enthusiasm. So details about the various koshas are also presented in this manual, so that the teacher or the educator can understand why are we offering such an education as part of the preschool process. Manomaya Kosha, the mind and emotions combined with the sensory input. So, for example, we think with our mind, there are a lot of emotions. We also grasp things from the environment through the senses. So, the senses and the mind put together forms the Manomaya Kosha. The Vijnanamaya Kosha is to do with the intellect and the senses, right? We cognize through the senses. We hear sounds, we see objects, and then we classify them, we categorize them, we understand them, we store it in memory, we think about it, we make decisions. All this is the process of intellect combined with the senses. So that is the Vijnanamaya Kosha. Anandamaya Kosha is that fundamental happiness. So the physical well-being, the energy dimension, the emotional well-being, the cognitive well-being and the spiritual well-being of the child has to be taken care of right from a very early age through the educational process. And that is why the NEP document talks about the Panchakoshiya Vikas. Though the NEP document, the NCF document talks about the Panchakoshiya Vikas, it is not so straightforward as one delves deeper into the document. How is it impacting all the koshas? So the Sadvidya curriculum as the design of the day in the preschool itself is designed so that all the koshas are catered to. So when we say Annamaya Kosha, looking at whether all the parts of the body are well developed, whether good height and weight is mentioned, age appropriate food consumption is there, the child has the ability to walk well, jump well, run well, has good growth of hair and nails, what is the food wastage patterns, and what kind of inputs can we look at from Ayurveda, yoga, naturopathy, and these systems to support the healthy growth of the body. Okay, that is Annamaya Kosha. Pranamaya Kosha is to do with proper functioning of the speech, whether the child is able to grasp things properly, is able to move the feet, is able to sort of run properly. Even that is to do with the Pranamaya Kosha. And nature and volume of the voice, the breathing pattern. Is the child breathing with the mouth closed? Many children have this habit of breathing with the mouth open. So even that has to be looked into. Whether the respiration, digestion, all these are happening properly. Has the child got good memory? Is it thinking clearly? All this is an effect of the Pranamaya Kosha. Manomaya Kosha is proper functioning of the senses, visual, auditory, tactile, gustatory, olfactory senses, or all the senses working properly. Is the child generally happy? Is it able to connect with other students in the class, with birds, with animals, with plants? And has it got good qualities like humility, humor, compassion, and many such qualities are they present in the child? Vijnanamaya Kosha, does the child exhibit good cognitive development, attention, focus, memory, ability to categorize and choose things, process sensory input, understand images and sounds, textures, smells, and tastes, and is able to, whatever is taught, is the child able to retain it in memory? And how do we design the content in order to stimulate the Vijnanamaya Kosha is also part of the curriculum. Anandamaya Kosha, what is the general happiness of the child? Does the child show calmness? Does it feel interconnected with other students? Is it able to handle diverse situations? Is it generally happy and joyous? Is what is the Anandamaya Kosha. So the activities and the content in the curriculum is designed to impact each of these dimensions. So when we say the Sadvidya pedagogy, it includes physical activities. It includes Kantha Pata, which is the memorization and chanting component. We have a storytelling component. We have an art and craft component. We have social skills. We have unstructured learning. All these are part of the curriculum for ages 3, 4, and 5. Okay. And the way one has to use this document is also given here, how to use this book. So there is some amount of planning that is required, what activities you're going to take up this week or tomorrow when you do this, logging the activities, customizing the activities creatively, use activities multiple times. So we would have listed a few activities. It does not mean it has to be done only once. It can be done multiple times. And integrate the activities across the subjects, right? So there are many activities that are mentioned in this particular book. So this is a basic introduction to this entire thought process that has gone behind the Sadvidya curricular book for the preschool. What we found is that this is not just relevant for preschool. Even up to grade 3, this can be used if the children are not introduced to the Indian knowledge systems. This can be very well be used up to age 8. This is what we observed. So the NCF document gives a suggestive timetable for age 3. So we have customized it to suit the Indic context, right? So from 9:30 to 10:15, there can be a Guru Vandanam and yoga session, and then followed by a storytelling session. 10:15 to 10:30, there can be a break. 10:30 to 11, you can have a chanting and singing session. 11 to 11:45, there is a concept time. 11:45 to 12, there is a break. 12 to 12:45, there can be art, craft, IKS and play. 12:45 to 1, there can be Shramdan and silence. So basically the preschool for the age 3 ends at around 1 o'clock. If you want to extend it up to 3 p.m., you can include a Yoga Nidra session in between and then conclude at 3 p.m. So this is a timetable guideline that is given, that is based on the NCF, but adapted to introduce the Indic concepts, values, and the pedagogical is completely Indian oriented. Okay. Bharatiya, right? So I'll just give a moment for you to look at the timetable. So the entire curriculum book is an expansion of this timetable. Each component of this timetable, we have given content and activities to do, so that the teacher will clearly know, say, for example, this week, what all can be taught as part of the Guru Vandana, what all asanas can be taught as part of yoga, what all chanting can be taught this week, what all concepts can be taught, what art and craft can be done, what Shramdan can be done. All this can be planned by the teacher by looking at the content that we have prepared. If you have any questions so far, you can ask.
Can you elaborate what is Shramdan?
Sorry, ma'am.
Shramdan.
Shramdan is basically, it is like, offering your effort, as seva, where children will actually put back the things in order, say, for example, or clean the place, clean their own place, something like that. I will explain at the end. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So this is how the teacher logs in the various activities. So you can write the date, activity number, and whatever notes you want to take, you can do. Each activity has a number. The entire book has numbers. So this particular day, whatever you're covering as part of the timetable, you can just log it down, right? So you have Vandana, Guru Vandanam, yoga and stories. You have the chanting session. You have a concept time. You have an art and craft time. Then you have Shramdan and silence. So there are a lot of pages given in the manual for you to do this. If you are planning to implement this, maybe you can just take a printout of the manual, spiral bind it, and then start using it. And if you want, you can divide it by age 3, 4, and 5. If you want to make separate manuals, you can make the first few pages alone. You just print it again and attach it as part of the each manual. You can attach it. Whichever way is comfortable, you can do that. For each age group, the content is separately given. So the Guru Vandanam. So every chapter has the thought process explained. Why is the Guru Vandanam important? Why should you introduce this to children? So when we say a prayer, it means that you are setting the inner environment of the child to be able to better receive the content that is being offered. And we often see that in the modern context, in the schools, because it has become very westernized, one can say, that the relationship between the teacher and student has changed quite a lot in these times. I remember the kind of reverence that my father had for his own teachers. Maybe my children may not have mapped their teachers that way. And it is not the fault of the children. It is also it is how the systems are changing over a period of time. And we do find in many Western countries how teachers are addressed by their names a lot, in the name of equality and equal rights and all that. The reverence that we give to the teacher in the Indian system has somehow changed in these times. So it is important to bring back that thought process that the teacher is of utmost importance in our personal growth, in our own lives, because we do see that one motivated teacher can make a huge difference in what you can say, in transforming our lives. And all of us, when you look at it, we like a particular subject. Probably we even I clearly remember. In fact, I took up a research career in a certain area of computer science because one of the teachers taught it so well that I was fascinated by that subject. And I'm sure if the other subjects were also taught with that kind of a commitment, I would have developed interest in other subjects as well. So that teacher had made a huge difference and impact in the way, and it defined my career path itself. So like that, so the kind of reverence that we have for the teacher has to be inculcated in the system. So this Guru Vandanam is a very crucial aspect. And of course, the larger Guru Shishya Parampara, understanding the role of the Guru and who is a Guru, and giving some stories of Guru Shishya, which we will see is there in the manual as well. All these bring out this context of the Guru and Shishya. So simple shlokas are presented here. And we also have the audios recorded. I will pass on the link to you. The audio recordings are available. And these are the verses that you can teach the children. So the first component in the timetable is Guru Vandanam. So the way you need to teach it is teach it through a process of repetition. The whole week or the first 3 days can go in just one of the shlokas. Don't be in a hurry to teach them. Keep on repeating such that all the children in the class are able to chant it from memory. Make each child repeat it. So that is how it takes about half an hour to even by heart a line or present a line to the children. So the whole week or at least 3-4 days can be dedicated to one verse in the Guru Vandanam. So like that, it takes time. So the children can be handheld into this chanting process. And pay attention to their pronunciation. Pay attention to how loudly they are chanting. And have a mudra, have the Anjali mudra, like Vandanam. Let them keep their palms like this, in the sense palms touching each other. And then say this prayer. So this mudra, all these things can be integrated. Closing their eyes, paying proper reverence to the Guru Shishya Parampara becomes important. So this is the first component. This is for age 3. This can be used. And for age 4 and 5, the same thing can be repeated. The next component in the timetable is the yoga component, right? So the first few pages are allocated for the educator to understand the importance of yoga. So this builds concentration, memory, it increases immunity, it supports speech development, and it improves physical agility and also creates emotional balance. You would see that many children exhibit this quality of being mature beyond their age. They talk a lot with a lot of maturity, but their bodies will be very small. So if the maturity level has to go hand in hand, parallelly with the bodily growth, yogic practices become very important. Okay. Though many of the advanced asanas can be introduced only after the age of 8. Many people say Surya Namaskar can be introduced after the age of 8. But in a playway method, you can introduce yogic practices, and that will ensure that the hormones are balanced and the body and mind grow parallelly. Right? So, and also this yoga, the guidelines for the yogic practices are given in the manual for you to understand how to introduce these asanas. So it is good for all the teachers to sit together, read this out, first understand how to administer the yogic practices, and then go and teach the class. So here in this manual, you have step-by-step Pavanamuktasana series. All the asanas in a step-by-step manner with pictures are provided in this manual. I'm just scrolling through the pages for you to take a look at it. And apart from this, one thing is directly teaching the asanas. There are also fun ways to learn the asanas. So you can give, like, for example, you can tell an animal name and then they can do a posture according to it. They can play a yoga tic-tac-toe, right? Maybe divide them into 2 teams. Each one comes and occupies a square and then does an asana. So like that, you can have n number of fun activities by which you teach yoga, right? Say, for example, Krishna says, do a tree pose. Then the children will actually do Vrikshasana. So like that, there are multiple ways for the children to know the names of the asanas. Once you tell a name, they can do the asana. Once they do an asana, they should be able to tell a name of the asana. So identifying the asanas and doing the posture, they should also be able to see you and do the postures. This is very important because in children, the mirror neurons are very, you can say significant because they always tend to mimic what we do. So as you do asanas, they can clearly see you and then do it. And in fact, this is one of the ways of finding out which of the children also have this coordination issue. Many children, if you see, not many children, some of the children, if you see, they won't be able to visually see you and immediately mimic the practice. So it means that they will need a little more help for that neural circuit to form to be able to see and do the same thing. There might be slight delays in learning that. So for those children, you might have to give repeatedly teach the asanas. Okay. You can also introduce simple breathing practices. There is a stepwise breathing. For example, you draw this on the board and then you hold a scale and then show breathe in, hold, breathe in, hold, breathe in, hold, and then breathe out like a step. So this is one way to do breathing. You can do feather breathing. I know while trying to keep the feather in the air, they can just blow out. Or just freestyle breathing, flower breathing. Like that, you can introduce fun ways of manipulating the breath. And eye exercises become very important at a very young age. So different movements of the eye, left and right, cross movement, up and down, rotation of the eyeballs, all this can be introduced to the children. And in a gentle manner, they can be introduced. And we also found practically that tongue exercises are extremely useful. Many children have this speech issues. They won't be able to communicate properly because, and this movement of the tongue really helps in the chanting process. So just sticking their tongue out and moving it round, moving it in a circular manner, moving it left, right, up and down, rolling the tongue, and in fact, using the fingers to slightly pull the tongue, all these become nice exercises. and deep breathing practices. You can even teach some mudras to the children. They need not do it for a long time. See, mudras are very advanced practices, but just the names and just as a fun way to show them this is this mudra. That just introducing to them to the mudras is a useful thing. So all these become interesting ways to learn yogic practices. They also learn to keep their body healthy. Throughout their life, they will always find these practices extremely useful. The next component in the timetable is actually the chanting component. So here, if you see, a lot of vandanas and vandanams and shlokas are given here. And for each year, the shlokams are different. For age 3, age 4, and age 5, a different set of verses are given. Simple verses with the English transliteration is given. And it becomes easy for the teacher to chant them and for the children to repeat them. And there are simple bhajans. Shamba Sada Shiva, Shamba Sada Shiva. Simple bhajans like this, right? You can even set it to a tune or you can just chant it as it is. And it enhances the pranamaya kosha, right? In fact, all the koshas get impacted, but specifically the lung capacity increases. Also, the children's memory start increasing when the chanting process is repeated for a long period of time or consistently done. So even for adults, or even if you're handling, after school programs, or even if you have a child at home in this age, this becomes a useful manual, a systematic way to introduce our culture and traditional components as part of the learning process. Have any questions you can ask at this stage?
Any mother tongue slokas or?
Yes, I'm coming to that. So here, what we have done is that the next component, since we have 200 days where we can engage the children in rhymes and, chanting, we have given guidelines to choose Matrubhasha rhymes. Okay, this is where we need volunteers. This is where we need people from different states and parts of the country to use the manual and help us create this content also, right? If you are familiar, if say, for example, Telugu, Tamil, Malayalam, Kannada, all these people can actually contribute. So there is one sheet that we have included in order for you to take or choose the Matrubhasha rhymes, and then you can attach it to the manual. We have made it, Matrubhasha agnostic so that throughout the country, anybody can use this manual, but we have given them guidelines. How do you choose a particular rhyme to be included as part of the curriculum? Okay. So maybe some Atichudi or Tirukkurals and some things can be introduced over here, or even simple Tamil rhymes. I've seen almost all the Tamil rhymes are very meaningful compared to the English rhymes. And we see that, when we studied, it was all Baba Black Sheep and it was Ringa Ringa Roses and all that. But today when we reflect on those rhymes, sometimes I'm shocked to know the meaning of those rhymes. When we say Baba Black Sheep, have you any wool? It is almost like, paying the taxes. One for the master, one for the church, and one for the, whatever, society at that point in time. And even I heard that this Ringa Ringa Roses is to do with some kind of a disease where people developed on the skin. And, people started dying. And that is why we say, all fall down and all that. Right. So there are the meanings behind some of the rhymes that we innocently chanted seems to be very different when I reflect on it today. Maybe the interpretation is true or false, I don't know. But nevertheless, I've seen that they are practically not helpful for the children of today. We need to create a generation that is much more aware and which is much more, say, patriotic about the country, which is, empathetic towards the society, socially conscious, and is also environmentally, sustainable. So that way we need to build those qualities, consciously in the children. That is why the content has to be changed. So these are some English songs, some of the songs that we wrote. We took inspiration from some of the existing songs. So these numerous English poems are also available. You can probably set it to any tune that is already there. The next component in the timetable, Yoga Nidra, of course, we have this audio recording available of the Yoga Nidra. So people can use this. Or you can have your own instructions, play a music, or half an hour children can spend in Yoga Nidra. The next component is the concept time, where the Matrabhasha can be introduced. So we have given guidelines again, since it has to be used by people of different states. We have given guidelines as to what components in the Matrabhasha can be introduced. Okay. And looking at the English and the Sanskritam curriculum that we have given, one can introduce the same things in the Matrabhasha as well. Age 3, you can mainly focus on numeracy, literacy skills, introduce the vocabulary, even the counting and everything. So numbers, words, everything will all be together with respect to age 3. And bringing out the phonetics, identifying the letters in the alphabet. Only maximum you can do these. Of course, you can introduce the vocabulary, and a lot of songs can be introduced. Puzzles can be introduced. Then we have provided content to teach Sanskritam. And Sanskritam, as you know, that it's a very, just like all other Indian languages, Sanskritam has a very systematic structure to it. So you have kantaha, you have words that are produced from the throat, words that are produced from the soft palate, words that are produced from the hard palate, the teeth, the lips, and the nose. Okay. So you have ka, kha, ga, gha, nga, cha, cha, ja, ja, nya. Like that, you pronounce different things from different parts of the mouth and throat region, right? So this actually builds a lot of prana shakti in the children, just chanting the Varnamala. And you would see that each child would grasp it very differently. When you learn Tamil, for instance, we don't have kha, ga, and gha and all that. We just have one ka. And depending on the context, we use it as a ka or ga. But when you teach Kannada, when you teach Telugu, when you teach Sanskritam, you will have to differentiate ka, kha, ga, gha, like that. So you would see that not all children will be capable of pronouncing it at the first time. So you will have to pay attention to each child's pronunciation and show it to them multiple times from where the sound is produced. Okay, that really helps them. So that is why paying attention to the pronunciation and getting the letters right, identifying for them to identify some of the letters, at least the vowels, become important. So these are numerous activities how to introduce the phonetics. Sanskritam phonetics. The same can be used for Matrubhasha as well. So say each vowel and ask children to repeat them 2 times. Okay. You say a, they also say a. Okay. And then practice chanting of elongated vowels for the respective short vowels. Say, for example, I say a, they will say a. I say e, they will say e. Like that, you play a game with them. Practice paired chanting of short and long vowels so that the entire vowel set is covered. And prompt the children to say the elongated vowel for the short vowel you say, right? So like that, you actually say, for example, practice and chant of long and short vowels in the order of 3 long and 3 short sounds. For example, so that they are able to differentiate the short sound and the long sound. Then bring the guttural sounds, the palatal sounds, and each consonants can be brought out. Okay. Yes. I think there is a small mistake here. In 9, 10, 11, and 12, the sounds, where they are produced, that area of the mouth, the word should be changed. It is not just palatal everywhere. It has to be the other regions of the throat and mouth. Okay. And you can have guess the game as well. Make children stand with short and long capes hiding a vowel plus consonant form. The color of the cape can be a clue for the varga. Other children must guess the letters underneath the cape. Okay. And then you can introduce vocabulary to them. The same can be done in English and Matrubhasha as well. So Mata, Pita, Bhagini, Bhrata, Guru, Pitamahi, Matamahi, Pitamaha, Matamaha, Sakha, Devaha, and also animals. Show them pictures of the animals, tell them the words in Sanskritam, English, and Matrubhasha. Words for the various body parts, simple adjectives, big, long, wide, thick, small, show an object, a small object, a big object, a long object, a short object, like that. You show them objects and then tell them the words. And also simple fruits and vegetables can be taught, not too many, simple ones. And also some names of, some objects. So say, for example, words with vowels as the starting letter. Ajaha, apaha, induhu, ishaha. Like that, you can teach them words that start with vowels, right? And you can do pictures and word mapping, memory card game, role play activity. All this will become good work for the teacher as well. So the previous day, the teacher prepares simple cards, memory cards, and then that can be developed. In fact, as a contribution, whoever volunteer is there, they can help us to work on these particular activities by helping us create the flashcards and other things, which can be created as a manual, separate manual activity book, which is used in parallel with the Sadvidya curriculum. So the way this curriculum book is designed is that it does not spoon feed the teacher, but at the same time gives enough guidelines so that if you want to use it just like that, fully, you can use it. Or if you want, you add your own elements, that there is also scope for it. Okay. Some Sanskritam rhymes are given, some of which people or volunteers wrote it themselves. Okay. And you can put it to some kind of a tune if you want to and sing, right? The transliteration and the meanings are also given. And how to teach the rhymes, that particular activity. And in each of the activities, the suggested number of sessions is also given. For 15 sessions, you have 5 activities. You can repeat each activity for 3 sessions. And introducing the various alphabets is also given. Any questions so far? Okay. So similarly, the English content can be introduced, introducing the English alphabets, flashcards, tracing the alphabets, matching game, puzzle game, songs, worksheets, all these can be done. Okay. So simple words using the alphabets are provided, and maybe some qualities can be listed, right? All this can be done. Letters and sounds ending. Appa, amma, cab, tab, mob, cord, pod, mid. It's very easy for children to relate the sound to the ending sound. So wherever it is relevant, we have given some examples. Please feel free to make your own examples. And how to give the letter and sound associations. 20 sessions, activities are given here. Say a word from the list and ask them which letter it ends with. Okay. Ask children to sing all letters of the alphabet in order. Write 3-letter words on the board and ask children to identify each letter. These are simple activities that you can do repeatedly. It can be done. Say a word from the list and ask them which letter it begins with. Say a letter and ask them to list a word beginning with that particular letter. Both ways it can be done. Sight words are given, and consonant, vowel, consonant, CVC words are also given. And if you have your own English pedagogy, please, feel free to use that. This is just a suggestive list. You have your own Sanskritam pedagogy, you can go ahead and implement that. Some activities based on the English alphabet. Again, how to conduct sessions, various activities based on English. Writing letter formation, slanting line practice, sleeping line, curve pointing, all these are included. Numbers and shapes are also included. Numbers and shapes, there are numerous activities which we have listed. Matrubhasha, English and Sanskritam, all the three languages, you can teach the numbers. Object counting, finger counting, line counting, dice counting, and just asking them to memorize and chant the numbers. Drawing certain shapes, simple shapes, square, circle, and triangle, and asking them to name this. Count the various shapes, count the number of triangles in this. That also gives the shape as well as the counting. So like that, for 50 sessions, you can actually take care of these activities, numbers and shapes. I'll just give you a moment to just skim through this content. So this basically I'm covering the concept time in the morning. That 1.5 hour of concept time that we have allocated, this content can be taught in that. So more than 33 activities to be done over a period of 50 sessions is provided here. Counting the sides, arranging the shapes in different sizes, all these can become activities. So after the concept time in the timetable, if you see, so I'll just go to the timetable so that we can reflect on how much we have. So this is the timetable that we looked at in the beginning. So we have covered the content for Guru Vandanam, yoga, and stories I'll tell you. Chanting and singing, we saw Sanskritam rhymes, Matrubhasha rhymes, and English rhymes. In concept time, we saw numeracy and literacy skills, teaching them Sanskritam, English, Matrubhasha, numbers and shapes, counting and all that, right? So till this particular 11:45, we have covered this. Now we will have to see the content for stories, art, craft, IKS, and then Shramdan and silence. So this is what we'll be looking at now. So in this art and craft and IKS, it is important for children to be introduced to aspects of our culture. So this particular session will have different dimensions of our culture, including Panchabhuta, Ayurveda Rasa, Shadrasas, and many more such things. So the first activity is learning a simple puja routine. So as soon as children come there, finish the Guru Vandanam, there can be some time allocated for doing a simple puja. Say, for example, if it is Chaturthi Tithi, they can do a Ganesha puja, right? So we have given a simple routine which the teacher can teach the children how to do puja. Okay, lighting the dhoop, lamp, in a safe manner. Okay, not the children, using matchstick. One has to be careful how the children use it also. But whatever object is usable by children, you can encourage them to do that. It can be a group puja that is done in the school or at home or wherever it is, right? And you can also prepare a mandala coloring or yantra coloring activity. We have seen that the concentration of children is enhanced when they paint and color yantras. So this is also something that we need volunteers for, creating an activity book to materialize many of these things that we have mentioned here. Then there is content on Pancha Mahabhutas. This is for the teacher to read what are the bhutas and how do we look at them in nature. So this is mainly for the educator to read it in detail. And then we have listed 30 sessions on teaching the Panchabhutas. Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Jala and Prithvi. How they can look at it in nature, in their own body, around them. How can they do? How can they do as part of various activities? Okay. So these are some activities that they can do to learn what are the Panchabhutas and how they can see it or perceive it around them. So these are some craft work that children can do over a period of 20 sessions, age 3. This also introducing them to many aspects of nature as well. So these are some typical craft activities that children do. Again, it will be useful to have a book or an activity book based on these crafts as a supplementary manual. Again, this is some volunteering work that people can take up. And we are also introducing the food taste and hygiene to the children, right? So children can learn the name of the 6 tastes in the Matrubhasha, English and Sanskritam as well. Salty, sweet, bitter, sour, pungent and astringent taste, and how different foods have different tastes. So for each taste, we have given different examples that the teacher can probably bring to the class or show a picture and explain to them what taste it is. In fact, they can also be allowed to taste some of these, like a lemon, and also observe their facial reaction to many of these tastes. And fruits, introducing them to various fruits and various vegetables, coloring them. All these become activities to teach about food and also personal hygiene. So we given examples that you can bring from your own kitchen or stock them in the preschool, so that over a period of time you can introduce them to many of the food items and the taste that are there in those food items. And types of foods, you can talk to them about fruits, vegetables, flowers, leaves, seeds, stem and root, which we consume. And the same thing can be taught in 3 different languages. So eating fruits, even how to peel a banana and eat it. How vegetables are cooked or boiled and eaten. Or some of them can be eaten raw. Which vegetables can be eaten raw? That can also be shown. Leaves, how leaves are used. Pudina, palak, and sag, how are they used? How are grains cooked and had? And what are the uses of grains? Root, how to grow your own food, which is regional. You can talk to them about regional food. And also show them a Navadanya, pot, and how this Navadanya is, arranged. That can also be shown to them. And encourage children to develop mindfulness around food. And when they eat, ensure they are free from distractions. Tell them not to eat while watching TV or while watching a mobile phone, or to mindfully consume the food. Tell them how to say a small prayer before eating the food. Discuss with children about the effect of food that they have. Too much sweet can cause a cold. Too much spice can hurt the stomach. Too much oil makes digestion difficult. Too much sour food can impact the throat. Salty food can make them thirsty. Like that, simple examples you give them and to teach them the impact of food on the body, and reinforce the Matrubhasha and Sanskritam names of the tastes. Okay. Talk about water in the body, how our body is made of water and how to drink sufficient water. And after every classroom session, encourage children to have at least half a glass of water. Too much water, of course, can disturb the urination cycle, and too little water also is not good. So according to your schedule, you can time the water accordingly. And teach the children about various movements of brushing the teeth. See, this what happens, neither the parent has time nor the teacher has time to do this in a school. So it is better to have some hand-holding sessions on how to brush the teeth properly. In fact, even using the finger to massage the gums can be taught to the children. Yeah, in fact, we would recommend that, if it is herbal paste, not paste, herbal powder, tooth powder, all this can be encouraged as part of the brushing process. This is a very generic diagram that has been given here. So washing their hands, keeping the various organs clean, how to wash the eyes, keep the nose clean, after going to the toilet, how to clean themselves properly. All this can be taught to the children. Self-reliance can be built, how to keep their books and toys in a proper order, and also eating without spilling. All this has to be consciously taught to the children. The next topic is about flora and fauna, talking to the children about different animals and the different objects, living things, Chetana Shakti that have Chetana Shakti and which are Achetana. All this can be taught to children, and explain what is ahimsa, not to hurt others or animals, how to have love and compassion to animals, how to grow their own plant, and then coloring a tree, using leaves, walking in nature. All these become activities to show what is living thing, what is non-living thing, how to be in nature, how to look at different things in nature. The next topic is safety, teaching children how to be safe in a space, remembering the phone number of the parent, not to accepting anything from strangers. These are all taught typically in any preschool. So this may not be a specifically Indic content as such, but we have included it because if you want to use this manual fully, you can just use it. It has a complete set of activities to teach everything that the child needs and prepare them for the further schooling process, right? And also learning self-reliance. Okay, how to fold, wear their own t-shirt, how to wear track pants or shorts, completing simple chores on their own, setting aside for some independent play. Somebody is asking for the PDF. I think you joined a bit later. You can download this from here, this link. Sadvidya, you can look for Sadvidya. So children can be shown how to and then playing simple games to make their own decision. This is a very important thing. Many a times we make the decisions for the children, but creating situations where the children themselves, for example, you give them a picture and tell them to choose a color, whatever they want. So one child might choose orange, one might choose yellow, one might choose blue. It can be their own choice. So that way they also know how to make their own choices. So these are, in fact, we've included an activity for titiksha as well. So suppose they don't like a particular vegetable, say a bitter vegetable. So how to tolerate that a bit and eat it because it is good for health. Otherwise, when you introduce them to Ayurvedic medicines, many children may not consume it. That is because of the bitter taste it might have. So developing a little bit of titiksha and consuming these, that can also be taught. And washing small utensils like glasses and cups, that can also be taught to the children. And then for the story time in the morning, we have included numerous stories. And we have also given a short guideline how to narrate the stories. We have written the stories in a very short form, but we leave it to the imagination of the teacher and potential of the teacher to narrate it in a manner that is engaging to children. You can act out the stories, you can create a role play, you can write your own dialogues, right? All that can be done by the teacher. But we have just given stories that are very thematic. For example, you would have spoken about a concept during the concept time, a related story, you can pick it up from here. And each story reflects some quality or the other. Story of Agastya Maharshi, many stories from our own tradition. For example, when you narrate, when you talk to them about Vayu, the Panchabhuta, you can narrate the story of Hanuman. When you talk about Prithvi Tattva, you can talk about Prithvi Raja, or you can talk about, say, for example, Bhagiratha, when you talk about waters and rivers, how Ganga came to the earth. King Shibi and his kindness. So like this, there are hundreds of stories that are there in this entire book. So the Shramdan is basically, this is a time when they need to keep the things organized. So explain to the child why it is important to keep the preschool organized, identify items, have the child identify all items in the preschool that need to be organized, such as toys, books, and art supplies. Encourage child to group similar items together and help the child label each group of items, designate a place for everything, show the child where each group of items should be kept, and have the child gather all the necessary cleaning supplies such as broom, dustpan, and cleaning cloths. Divide the tasks amongst them. Show the child how to decide how to do each task and let them practice, like how to dust a table. Show them how to dust a table. Put on some fun music to make cleaning more enjoyable and celebrate the success. When the cleaning is finished, celebrate the child's hard work and give them a positive reinforcement as to how well they have done it. And conclude with a prayer. Every day you conclude with this prayer. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Explain the meaning and spend some time in silence before they leave. So that way, when the child comes in, the child becomes calm. When the child is going out, so one goes with a calm and happy attitude. So this is to do with age 3 content. I will quickly go through the age 4 content. It's all very similar, right? So this is a suggested timetable for age 4 up to 3 o'clock. Guru Vandanam. And you have chanting and singing. You have language time. You have math time. Yoga Nidra, art and craft, and Shanta. Okay. Again, we have given a set of log sheets for the teacher to log. Again, daily prayer. Again, different, some more new mantras have been added over here. Right? Yeah. And yogic practices, again, new yogic practices have been added here. You can do the age 3 and then the age 4. Just repeat it. In some activities, yogic mudras are given. Breathing practices are also given. And then many of the shlokas are available here. Chapter 15 of the Bhagavad Gita can be introduced. Matrubhasha, there is some guideline. There are some English rhymes over here. Some which can be done with action. Again, how to teach Matrubhasha is given here. In Sanskritam, they are learning more letters and sounds. They're also learning how to compose with matras, ki, ka, ku, ke, and other things. Sanskrit letter identification. More vocabulary is introduced. Vegetables, navagrahas, animals. Same things you can teach in English and Matrubhasha as well. Simple opposites are taught. Birds are taught. More opposites. Simple Sanskritam rhymes are taught. And writing the letters. There is a proper way to write the Sanskritam letters. So the strokes are given in this particular manual. And how to teach the letters over a period of 15 sessions. All this is given here. Again, English, set of CVC words, sight words, and various vocabulary things, uppercase and lowercase, vowels and consonants, phonetics, recognition of words, and rhyming words, tall, ball, right? And the odd ones can be highlighted. Okay. Creating their own short rhyme poem. Just putting the words together, that's all. Sentence building can be taught. And even dramatic play can be introduced. And we have given some space for you to write some sight words which you feel comfortable with. We have also given the singular and plural activity. for many words, and how to teach them singular and plural, and recognizing various pictures and telling the names. Nama Rupa mapping. You have verbs and adjectives. How to teach them verbs, how to teach them adjectives. That is also given as activities here. Combining and splitting. Give them some letters. Say you combine it with AT and form words. Cat, hat, bat, mat. Like that, many examples. And some math foundations. Shape sorting, shape matching, shape tracing. And also, showing them various locations like outside, inside, above, below, left, right. All this is part of the NET NCF document as well. And classification of different objects, sorting of them, recognizing the numbers, counting the objects, counting the shapes, body parts, all that. Regular math activities are included here. Comparing and learning. Money, introducing them to coins and denominations. Dana, discuss with children about giving to charity and how it helps others. Make a game and give them a set of amount of money and have them choose with charities to spread and donate to. List some charity, say for example, list 10 different things, each one doing different kinds of work. So where will they donate? For Annadanam, or for clothes, or for education, or for a temple. You can make them donate to each cause. So that will inculcate the habit of dana. And also saving money. So these are typical addition, descending order activities. We didn't want to leave them out of the manual to make it so that it's complete in its sense. So you have puzzles also based on numbers here. Some rhymes based on numbers. This is for the math session. Then you have the art, craft and IKS session. So showing that everything is divine. Plants are divine, animals are divine, rivers are divine. All these activities are mentioned here. How to teach them those aspects. Some craft work is given here. And talking to them again about food and rasa, but in a much more detail, which is suitable for age 4. Over a period of 30 sessions, 15 activities are given. And telling them how taste buds are present in the tongue and how each taste we perceive. We have more than 10,000 taste buds in the tongue. And also yama, niyama, safety and hygiene. Satya, telling the truth. Shaucha, keeping the place clean. Ahimsa, asteya, non-stealing. And these kind of yamas and niyamas can be taught, and relevant story can be narrated. For example, there is one activity. Ask 2 children to bring their water bottles. Show the bottle of one child and ask the child, whose bottle is this? Now the child show the child's own bottle and whose bottle is this? So if you feel thirsty, you should take your own bottle and drink. So you should be able to tell them that not to take the other things, but at the same time, you should also inculcate a feeling of sharing as well. Okay. So that one does not become too possessive of one's object, but at the same time, one is able to take care of one's object and not take the others without the permission of the other child also. So tell the children that they should respect others' possessions and not ask for it or take it unless absolutely necessary. And one should be happy with what one ever has. And you should ask permission to the other person. Okay. And safety. Do not touch hot objects in the kitchen, not to touch sharp objects. You can make your own list. This is something we have thought about. I'm sure you may have much more, many ideas to fill this. This is an entire activity on cow dung, showing the picture of Kamadhenu and the various gods in Kamadhenu. Teach them 2 verses of Surabhi Stotram. I think the manual itself has the Stotram. Making cow dung dhoop, cow dung compost, lamp, Ganesha, all this can be introduced. And simple aspects of Indian astronomy can also be introduced. Days of the week in Matrubhasha and in Sanskritam. Navagraha names in Matrubhasha, Sanskritam. And Panchanga system, just names of the Panchanga. Tithi, you can tell what is Purnima, what is, Chaturthi Tithi. Like that, you can teach them the different phases of the moon. You can make them draw the different phases of the moon. And there's one component, knowing India. Talk to them about India and of course their local context as well. Indian animals, Indian food preparations, traditional Indian games, Indian birds, and all that. Self-reliance activities, combing their hair and other things. Then again, numerous stories are presented. And Shramdan and the concluding prayer. So similarly, the some content is for age 5. I'm not going to go into the details of age 5, but it's more or less similar, but different kinds of content and activities are listed here. Unique activities for each age group are listed here. Herbarium, you have clean environment. The Panchakoshas are introduced to them. And stories. And there is an evaluation sheet. So generally we evaluate on them on the marks, basis of marks. So this evaluation sheet is the Panchakosha evaluation sheet. So the Annamaya Kosha, you have how do they sit, how do they walk, how do they jump, run and all that. The Pranamaya Kosha is looked into, the Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha and the Anandamaya Kosha. Then you can go into specific subjects and give grades or marks or the way you see it as suitable. And we have included content from the NCF so that you don't have to go to the entire document. You can first go through glimpses here and then go through the NCF document. So this is what I wanted to share here and more or less walk through the entire Sadvidya content. If you have any questions, you can ask. And I invite you to join the group as well and contribute to the efforts in terms of helping us with activity sheets or lesson plans as to what each can be. Any questions you have, you can ask. We'll just conclude with an invocation and then take the questions. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om.